I think it's every teacher's dream to create an environment where peers cooperate and where students engage with each other and work together to create a better product. We try to do that to things like group projects and discussions and debates, and it seems like every time we try to do that in the class, it doesn't quite come out the way that it really could. It seems like there's something wrong with the collaboration machine, and I wish there was something else that we could do it to enhance that in collaboration, both in class and out of class. And so the idea of a collaborative classroom is to bring, again, alongside the flipped and blended classroom with the mastery design system, is the idea to bring another layer to the class that allows students to cooperate with each other in ways that they're probably not used to, but that it should enhance cooperation. And they should be talking to each other more, they should be discussing at critical thinking levels, they should be engaged in creative work, and having debates in ways that they could never have in the confines of a classroom environment. And that is why I've decided to add that component to my class as well. Now, it's all based on the same idea we talked about when we talked about the Classroom 2.0 conclusion video, when we talked about changing the paradigm of education from that scenario of students learning directly from the teacher as a unique source of information, the scenario where students engage in a community of learning at large and all work together with the teacher, who acts like a guide, who participates with the students in the journey to find knowledge together from each other and from the internet at large. And then the students collaborate and create material who then returns the favor and adds more to the internet. Now, that paradigm of learning for the 21st century is certainly going to change things. And not only that, the idea of putting your product up and online where it can be analyzed and shared and displayed and evaluated by multiple people all around the world is definitely forthcoming, and we're going to be experiencing that. So we're going to be changing from an idea of a teacher as the center of attention to the teacher as someone who collaborates with the students, and where the classroom that incorporates technology and active learning and critical thinking at deeper and deeper levels. So how does the collaborative classroom help us create something like that? Well, before we talk about that, let's talk about the problems that teachers usually have when they try to create classroom discussions. Well, one of the greatest problems that teachers have is the idea of the discussion dominators, or those kids who actually step up always and always try to participate. Anytime the teacher asks a question, they're ready with an answer. And also, even if they don't know the answer, they want to ask questions, and they're very engaged. And, every teacher wishes that everybody would be like that. And some of us, when in face of the lack of participation, actually go through the students and feed into that cycle where the other kids feel that they don't need to step up because these guys are doing their job for them. And at the same time, those kids get reinforced, and then you never can get a discussion going. Also, even if there weren't discussion dominators, a lot of students are intimidated by the expertise of the teacher, who's usually in this role that he's the central source of information and wisdom. And so, who am I to challenge the wisdom of the teacher? I'm nowhere compared to him. Students lack the confidence on their own expertise, and they feel that they shouldn't be talking because they don't know how to contribute properly to the communication. Also, a lot of students are just shy, and they don't know how to participate, how to voice their opinions. There's problems with social anxiety when kids feel afraid of the way the other kids are going to talk about them if they do participate and say something bad. Even if the teacher tries to construct a positive environment, there is always something about that and nonverbal cues which other kids demonstrate that makes kids worried about what they're saying. And there's always also so little time to do everything you wish you could do, including things like wait time, having time for discussion, and having time for kids to actually process those questions and come up with the answers. And a lot of times, actually, kids think of the answer by the time they actually have left the classroom. And so when you put all of this together, there's a lot of limits to how well a discussion can ever be held in class. Not to mention that most discussions held in class are based on the material that kids already know, and so it's going to be a problem with the fact that they don't have time to do research and learn more in order to add even more to the discussion, even if you do assign some reading ahead of time about it. So it is difficult to create an awesome discussion in class, and I've had some very good discussions in the past, but most of them are teacher-centered, and you want to be able to create a scenario where the teacher just sits back and let the classroom talk. And how many of us can say that that happens on a regular basis? And so how do we create use the online environment to increase this? And so let's talk about this. First of all, it is something that actually mocks something that's going to happen in their later in their lives, because in the business environment they're going to have skills which include creativity, communication, collaboration, and the use of technology. So whether or not we are able to do this in class, they need to start learning how to talk to each other, how to work together, how to be creative, and how to use technology. And you will see soon that a collaborative classroom actually has the component, and all of these skills are addressed as a part of the collaborative classroom. Another thing, we're always saying that kids have to reach higher levels of critical thinking and higher levels of the Bloom taxonomy. They have to work at higher levels, and you can see that in collaborative environments online, you can actually give enough time for them to process the information and formulate responses to difficult questions that actually enhance discussion at a critical thinking level. And they can use things like creativity and all kinds of things. Also, something that doesn't typically happen in debates in class, kids don't usually critique each other because they feel it's bad for them to actually take that role of being critical of each other. But when you critique the material, not the person, the material, you actually add to the discussion. But kids don't really learn those skills. They don't learn how to interpret information, work with that information, and transform it into an opinion about someone's opinion. And they have to develop that skill if they want to be adults that take great roles in the workforce. Also, every teacher's dream is to increase participation. As you will see soon, the collaborative classroom definitely will do that. It does increase the time the kids have in order to formulate their responses and participate. There's less social anxiety because you don't feel afraid of people looking at you and acting and laughing at you because you're not seeing the person as you're collaborating. Also, there's an equity of voice in the sense that the dominators can no longer dominate because everybody has a chance to post as much as they want. And even if the person talks too much, all this is going to do is add to the discussion and then inspire even more people to talk. And so you can't really dominate an online discussion. You can only enhance the online discussion by talking more. But everybody does have a chance to talk at the same time, which is the beauty of online discussions. Also, because you have allowing that for happening at the same time, you can have multiple discussions all happening at the same time with multiple views where everybody talks at the same time, and there's not a lot of problems with blocking someone's point of view or the way someone wants to express themselves. So there's more flexibility on the online community. Also, everything you do in this discussion is going to stay online as a transcript of your discussion, and so you're going to have this material stored forever as a documentation of what the kids are doing. Also, can you imagine how sometimes when you do group work and you can't really tell who's doing what and who's actually collaborating to the group work? By putting the group work discussions leading to the actual product of the group work on the website, you can actually have a transcript of everybody's participation and then therefore see who actually did what. And the kids don't actually have to be together at the same place in order to do this, but they can work asynchronously and add it to the discussion little by little until they create their final product. And so that's yet another advantage of having a system like this. It's also time saving because you take away some of the things you would have to do in class in order to do this. So you actually enhance the classroom environment. It works really well with the flipped classroom. And so in addition to having things like videos, having the discussion online makes kids really be ready and participate in class and learn a lot. Now, another thing you can do is also going to save you money, and it's going to save you time because you don't have to print paper anymore. Students don't have to print paper anymore. You don't have to spend time creating these worksheets and printing these papers because everything is going to be on the online environment. And there's less grading as well because the system can actually track for you how many times the students participated. They can send you digests which shows you how all the participation for a given day. And so all of this is a great way to actually incorporate these advancements to actually help your classroom environment. All of this will give you more class time and therefore more time for teachers to spend one-on-one time with the students because not only are you teaching to the flipped classroom design and videos and things like that, but now that you're actually having discussions on the website, kids will come to class with less doubts. They will come understanding more of the material, which actually will give them more time to practice in class, and you more time to actually work one-on-one with them. Another thing that's cool about this, you can actually create an environment where kids can practice a lot of different skills. I'm going to be talking about that later. But one of the things you do is you can practice standardized practice and writing assignments, and you can also practice reading since they have to read each other's responses. And like I told you before, it facilitates the group work and helps gauge how much contribution each group member is actually doing, and actually might even remove the need for the group members to meet outside of class and give them more time to work together even though they're not actually together, since they can do this asynchronously. And finally, the best ways, the things about this is that you actually build a community where the kids actually talk to each other and get to know each other, and when you come to class, it actually translates into class, and you can see that stuff starting to happen in class as well. And the teacher can even participate in the discussions and pick parts from the discussion and highlight that those participations were awesome, and show for everybody in a way that everybody can see what good work it looks like, and so that everybody can start modeling each other, and over time kids actually get better with their products because they actually see the products of other kids and can compare their own products to that product and see what they need to do. So it gives the teacher an opportunity to model good products. Finally, it's also shifting, like I said, the teaching paradigm to a modern look where kids collaborate and learn from each other, not just from the teacher. And finally, most kids have a blast doing this because they recognize these things from using them online and actually working with the same things that you worked on Facebook and things like that. So they feel they're engaging in something that they're used to. So they actually have a lot of fun doing it. Now, some of the things that we actually have to do in order for this to work, I am going to talk about on the next video, because you have to create a safe and productive environment in order for this to work. So in the next video, I'm going to be talking about that.